So going into round 4 tonight, Indianapolis, I wanted to kind of go through some stats of the season so far and see if I could find anything interesting. I went through like average finishes and average amount of passes and total passes made, starts, all that kind of stuff, and I couldn't find anything really that interesting. So I went through historically only back to 2003 because that's all that AMA has for some reason is back to 2003, and I wasn't going to go individually back to every single race before then. But I went back through the first 3 rounds of each championship to see who the leader was after 3 rounds, what their average finish was for those first 3 rounds, who the winner was of that championship, see if they were winning after 3 rounds, see what their average finish was, if that made sense. And what I found isn't that interesting except for one thing. So from 2003 to 2020, out of all the riders that were winning the championship after 3 rounds, 11 of those riders ended up winning the championship. So that's 11 out of 18. That's about 61%. So you got a 61% chance of winning the championship if you are leading after 3 rounds, historically. Now that's just going off of what's happened in the past. A big thing, obviously, is what your average finish is in those first 3 rounds, because pretty much if you are winning after 3 rounds and you end up winning the championship, you did pretty dang well in those first 3 rounds. The worst ones are Carmichael in 2003 had an average finish of 2.3, and Anderson in 2018 had an average finish of 2nd in the first 3 rounds. Other than that, everybody was under 2nd place for an average finish. That's pretty dang good. And the 7 riders that didn't win the championship after leading the first 3 rounds, they had, on average, not as good of an average finish. The best one is Dungey in 2012, had an average finish of 2nd place, but everybody else had 2nd or higher. Now, that's not that interesting in and of itself, but what I found very interesting is that right now, Ken Roczen leading the championship, he has been in this situation 4 different times where he's been leading the championship after the first 3 rounds. And in those 4 times, obviously he hasn't been able to get it done and actually win the championship. And what's even crazier is right now, Ken has an average finish of 3rd place after these first 3 rounds. That's not including the points he was docked from AMA for the jumping on the red cross flag. This is just finishes. They didn't dock him positions. They just docked him points. So that's what I'm going off of. Right now, like I said, he has an average finish of 3rd place, and he's had that average position pretty much every single time. In 2014, it was 3.33, and in 2015, 19, and 20, it was all 3rd place as an average finish. In 2016, he wasn't leading after 3 rounds, and he had an average finish of about 4.7, but that doesn't get included in this because he wasn't leading after the first 3 rounds. And then obviously in 2017, he won the first 2 rounds, and then in the 3rd round, his crash happened. So that one doesn't count either. There's been 4 instances that he has been leading the championship after 3 rounds, and he wasn't able to capitalize on that and actually end up winning the championship. I thought that was pretty interesting to see that he is in the exact same position again for the 5th time. And for Ken, pretty sure he's thinking right now that hopefully history doesn't repeat itself and that he actually wins the championship this time after 5 times of leading after 3 rounds. I don't know. I just thought that was pretty dang interesting that obviously for some reason he's pretty dang good at the beginning of the season, but he can't keep it going throughout the season. At least that's what this shows, that he's been in this position 4 times and he hasn't been able to get it done. So Webb and Barcia both right now in 2nd and 3rd place have an average finish of 4.67. So even though they're not very far off points wise, they're decently far off when it comes to position. But it also looks like I have Eli after 3 rounds last year had an average finish of 4th place. Pretty much anything is possible. 2019 Webb after 3 rounds had an average finish of 5.3. So yeah, it is it's impossible to give a prediction after 3 rounds of who's going to win the championship based off of how they've done in these first 3 rounds. But I just think it's pretty interesting. Again, that Ken has been in this position 4 times. This literally exact same position 3 times with an average finish of 3rd place. Identical. Literally identical. He's been in this position 4 times, and he hasn't been able to get it done. Maybe it's his year this year. Maybe history repeats itself. I guess time will tell.